Today's lesson aligns to Mission 6, Lesson 4 for Zern. This is day 3. We're going to solve 1- and 2-step problems by using data given in a graph. Some vocabulary that you are already familiar with: bar graph, which is a graph with bars to represent a quantity; scale, a number line used to indicate a quantity; and then some questions or some phrases that you may see in some of your problems: how many fewer, how many more, or you will see combine is when you have to combine two values in a problem. Alright, so let's look at our problem set for today. As we are looking at our values, the chart below shows the number of magazines sold by each student. So before we begin, we need to choose a scale that works best for this data. So when I say scale, I am looking at the numbers here on our number line. What should we be counting by and why? Yep, you got it. In this case, we can use hundreds since the numbers are between 100 and 600. It wouldn't make sense for us to count by 5s or 10s because our numbers, our values are so big that it would be a whole lot of tick marks to draw. So we want to make sure that we're also picking a scale that is efficient for us to use. So now we want to go ahead and fill in our scale. Our graph, our bar graph, looking at the value. So when we look at Ben and the number of magazines he sold a value of 300 magazines. So we want to go ahead and create a bar that shows that Ben actually sold 300 magazines. I'm going to give you a few minutes to go ahead and finish filling in your scale. And also fill in your values for Ben, Rachel, Jeff, Stanley, and Debbie. Alright, let's go ahead and check your work with mine. Alright, so here is our completed bar graph to show our values and our bar graph, the number of magazines sold by the 3rd grade students. We can see Ben at a value of 300, Rachel at a value of 250. Notice with this value that we had to actually go up to half of a unit because 50 is half of 100, just to make sure that our measurements are precise. Jeff at 100, Stanley at 450, and Debbie at 600. Go ahead and fix these values and make them look like mine. Now we're ready to answer some questions, some 1- and 2-step problems. So if we look at part C, it says, how many fewer magazines did Debbie sell than Ben and Stanley combined? So for this problem, we need to combine the values of Ben and Stanley and compare it with the value of Debbie. Here is a model that represents this problem. It shows Debbie with a value of 600, Ben with the value of 300, and Stanley with a value of 400. And it shows that we actually have to put these two values together and look for how many fewer magazines Debbie sold, which would be the fewer or the lesser amount. So in order to solve, we would add together 300 plus 450, which equals 750, and then subtract Debbie's value to find out how many fewer she sold, which will give us 150. So Debbie sold 150 fewer magazines than Ben and Stanley combined. Sorry that that's a little cut off. So for D, I want you to try and represent with a model. I'll go back to the previous one so that you have an example. Go ahead and try to solve or represent with a model that shows how many more magazines did Debbie and Jeff sell than Ben and Rachel. And now I want you to solve for how many more magazines did Debbie and Jeff sell than Ben and Rachel. Fixing it so we can have it all on our screen. All right, so go ahead and check your work with mine. So in this problem, we actually had to combine two values and compare it with another two values that we had to combine. So Debbie and Jeff, we combined their values. We also combined Ben and Rachel's values. And we know that Debbie and Jeff has more, but we need to know how many more they sold. So we combined the values of 600 plus 100 to equal 700, 300 plus 250 to equal 550, and we took those two values to find the difference, which was 150. So Debbie and Jeff sold 150 more magazines than Ben and Rachel. If you have any questions about the problem set in the homework, please reach out to me. I can also provide examples through text or Dojo.